So I decided to watch 20 questions Flat Earthers can't answer, and since I couldn't even get past the first three, I elected to make a video addressing the absurdities of not just what these people are thinking, but what they claim we think. So here goes.
Maybe you've seen a flat earth conspiracy video or read a compelling anti-science blog post, but before you dive headfirst into that flat world of absurdism, with the help of several other pro-science, skeptically minded content creators, I've put together a list of questions for you to think about. When you're done watching this, I highly recommend that you go check out and subscribe to their channels as well. You won't be disappointed.
And right off the bat, with the help of several other pro-science, skeptically minded content creators, he's put together a list of questions designed to mislead people who have real interest in Flat Earth. Otherwise, he wouldn't be going to a shill organization like the Flat Earth Society, which is controlled opposition. And I would suggest that anybody who is really interested in finding out about the Flat Earth, there are several books on the subject, some dating back to a publication date of 1881, like Zetetic Astronomy, which is one of the first Flat Earth books I got.
My question is this, to those who expect to see some kind of curvature on a globular Earth with their eyes, what exact kind of curvature are you expecting to see? If you're talking about the kind of curvature that goes away from us and over the horizon, then that would be indiscernible. It would look the same as a flat Earth because you can't see things that are under the horizon.
Now this chap sounds like he knows what he's talking about. However, if it is the case that no one can see any kind of curvature on a globular object, then why does NASA and other agencies warp pictures of a flat horizon taken at 100,000 feet to make it seem as if there's a curve? It doesn't add up, and debunkers are supposed to be all about the math.
What about ships and boats disappearing over the horizon?
So on one hand, you guys say that we can't see any curve from any height on a globular object, but on the other hand, there are all kinds of videos of boats going over the curve debunking Flat Earth. All right.
Curvature of the Earth horizon model of science. And this blue stuff is like the ocean. And this boat, well, it's like a boat. Anyway, watch. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears.
And what effect did Bill Nye's science have on children that watched the shows in the 1990s? We'll see in the next clip of how early childhood conditioning can shape a person's worldview.
This is another video of a boat going over the horizon on San Francisco Bay. It is sped up by a factor of 10 after using image stabilization software. The raw footage is linked in the description. It shows a ferry going under the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge and out to Vallejo, I think. I filmed it from Pier 14 at a height of about 6 meters above the water. The distance to the ferry when it finally disappears is about 12 miles.
You see, the problem with these smart, scientifically minded people is that they're attempting to use what little knowledge they do have to discuss a complex topic like Flat Earth. They don't consider even the basics of how eyes work, discounting little details like how the horizon is always at the observer's eye level, or vanishing point of how things appear when they're further away. You might as well say that the train tracks are shrinking in size rather than appearing to grow smaller as they reach the vanishing point.
However, as shown here, the horizon is beyond 16.8 miles. Some have disputed this fact, but they are wrong. Look at the boat on the left, much further away. That is an even more distant boat, the bottom of which is perspectively higher than the big boat in front of it, proving that the horizon was even further than 16.8 miles.
If you honestly want to believe that the Earth is flat, I'm not going to stop you, but I would like to ask, if you want to convince any of us, especially those of us that are at least moderately science-minded, could you please provide a working model, a full-scale working model of the flat Earth, with accurate predictions and measurements that follow through on that scale? And no, I don't mean the UN map.
Now, since this one took the time to give his cartoon a Viking rape face, I won't even mention the UN flag since it bothers him so much, but we will look at other projections. Now, to demand a full-scale working model with accurate predictions and measurements from people who have only studied for a few years is kind of like asking a third-year medical student to separate twins conjoined at the head. You wouldn't do it, and you couldn't expect it. But there are projections, like these maps used during World War II that the Allied forces used to win. There's that. Now, as for predictions, there are a few ancient cultures that made predictions based on a calendar that oddly looks very much like an AE map, and others that built structures that have stood the test of time, and it's because they knew the Earth's cosmology was flat. Now, before going back to these mind-numbing questions, let's take a look at something else here. Earth Null School is a site which provides current wind, weather, ocean, and pollution conditions as forecasted by computers on an interactive, animated map. They used to have several projections, including the azimuthal equidistant, which they removed in 2018. It really is a shame that they monkeyed with this site because it was totally interactive. There it was grabbing Antarctica, which was shown as a continent in the middle, draw it up to the very top, keep going, and eventually it spreads out and forms a wall of ice with the continents in the middle. Now, if this projection is wrong and flat Earth is a psyop, why even have it? And why remove it? Now, when we look at the ocean and air patterns on the globe, they're all over the place. There's no consistency, no flow, just all in different directions, and it doesn't make sense. But with the AE projection, the azimuthal equidistant flat Earth projection, we see a consistency, circular patterns. We actually used to be able to see those patterns form extreme activity like hurricanes there in the middle. I used to track that. And I actually missed this projection because it was really an interesting tool to be able to use. And again, why did Earth Null School remove the azimuthal equidistant projection if it's not true?
Why is it that all other astronomical bodies, like other planets, their orbiting moons, the sun, other stars, why is it that they're all spherical and the laws of gravity apply to them, but the Earth is somehow the odd one out? What makes it different?
This right here is the reason why you keep comparing our world to the lights that are in the sky that you think are planets. This right here. This is it. This is the reason. Empty your cup and you may find that natural science describes the workings of the material world, like how movement affects water. Empty your cup and you may notice that the difference between an image and a photograph, as seen above, would be in the little details, like what a photograph really is and why NASA will never use the word photograph with any of those fake pictures. That's fraud. Empty your cup and you may begin to wonder why microscopes have 2 viewfinders while telescopes have only 1. Debunkers will always say, I've looked through a telescope and saw spherical objects, when in reality they are seeing a 2-dimensional projection and their memory, filled with all kinds of CGI and paintings, fills in the rest. Yep, this right here, this is real science. By the way, asking a globe defender to explain flat Earth is like wanting to know about the Holocaust during World War II and instead asking a Nazi for his take. You'd get nothing but propaganda. In order to further the confusion, they are now saying planets are luminaries. And they are, but the actual meaning of the word is a natural light, like the sun, moon, and stars, not planets. See, like this animation. Those are not three-dimensional objects going in circles over the planed Earth. Those are two-dimensional objects, clearly. But they look 3D. But they're not. So I do want to wrap this video up. It's already much longer than I anticipated, but having to cover just 3 questions from basically what they think we believe took up quite a bit more time than I was expecting. So we'll cover their ridiculous ideas of what we think gravity is, and then end with what we really think.
If gravity comes from the Earth constantly accelerating upward, not just moving quickly but actually constantly accelerating, where is this infinite source of energy that's propelling it?
But as you moved toward the edge, gravity on a disk Earth would slightly skew, pushing at a greater and greater angle back toward the center. My friend Nick from Yeti Dynamics put together this great simulation. The person and buildings obviously aren't to scale, but check out how such increasingly diagonal gravity would work. Although this is a flat disk, it would feel to a runner headed toward the edge like they were fighting to climb up a steeper and steeper hill. And remember how gravity would be totally different on a disc-shaped planet? Well, they argue that gravity as we know it simply doesn't exist. The flat disk of Earth is merely accelerating up at 9.8 meters per second.
So to be clear, we don't believe in gravity. So taking your understanding of gravity and trying to apply it to flat Earth is just wrong. Density and buoyancy. Natural science proves density and buoyancy exists, it can be explained, and is repeatable. I'll cover that in the next video. Thanks for joining me. Take care.